I got some Whoppers for you. Stick around. But I'll tell you something. It's sometimes challenging as a vlogger to remember that how challenging it is to break through cultural norms, which become barriers. Cultural norms, cultural barriers. You know, North American cultural norms, foreign cultural norms. And I don't want to use the word shame, but it kind of is. It's kind of a shame that we have to go abroad to view different locations and different cultures just to see and break through our cultural barriers that we impose upon ourselves. Isn't that something? My point in my last video was not received as well as I'd hoped because of those cultural norms and those cultural barriers. And it's a challenge to me because I don't live by those norms, and it's not because I'm abroad, because that house with the pool was in North America. And so it's a challenge for me to remember to go slow, try to help people see that they're putting barriers in their own minds. And people have barriers in their own minds. It's like we've grown up in a culture, in a debt culture. A debt culture, an insurance culture, an institutional culture. And all I'm trying to do with my videos is show people how they've actually bought into this idea and are causing their own enslavement, and how it's foundational to what's happening this day and age. All of the things that are happening are because we've believed the lies of these institutions. Now remember that lies that are veiled in some truth are the best lies, because if somebody just came out with something that was an obvious falsehood, nobody would accept it. Isn't that true? Isn't that correct? But when you veil it with some truth, where some of the people will be confused into thinking that the subject matter is whether it's a good idea or not to have a fence around the pool or peace of mind, and that the whole idea has nothing to do with that. Nothing, zero, absolutely nothing. Not even remotely connected. Whether it's a good idea or not is not the subject matter of my conversations and how I make decisions in life. And what I try to show people and help them understand and break through those mental barriers that we have erected for ourselves through cultural norms that we have accepted because we were born into it. So I've got to go slow. I've got to go slow on my videos. That doesn't qualify as a fence because it doesn't go all the way around. Anybody can walk in here. Look how dangerous that is for some people. It's not dangerous for me because I hang on to the rail, and I'm glad that there are rails. I do hang on, and I haven't pulled a Biden yet. I have not tripped on any of these steps. Now, we as a people will not be free until we remove those scales from our eyes and break through those cultural norms that we've grown up with, believing that all we need is something to be a good idea so that we can be good little slaves and obey our masters. Like, do you think, like, I don't know what's good for me? And do you need an all-knowing master to tell you what to do? Other than, here's the thing, I'm not saying that these conversations you have to explain, because yes, we need guidance in life, but how do we know the difference between good and evil? A good a person with bad intentions masquerading as someone that has your best interest at heart and therefore appearing to give you benevolent guidance, but it's really a wolf in sheep's clothing. How do we see through this? Well, ancient scriptures talk about good trees produce good fruit and bad trees produce bad fruit. And a lot more people are starting to see the bad fruit coming out of these institutions. But even way before then, some of us saw through it. And there's reasons for that. I'm not trying to say I'm clairvoyant or something like that. I'm just saying that we all want the same result in life. It's just that some of us are in a different spot on that same road. But we are all on that road. We all want our liberties. But as a culture, we need to understand how we give up our liberties voluntarily. The only thing the wolf has to do, you think all they have to do is put on sheep's clothing, meaning appear to be benevolent, tell you to do things that are good for you? Like, who would argue against having roadblocks to stop people from driving drunk and killing people? Nobody. But that's the point. In a society based on liberty, it is imperative that the principle be observed that it is better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man is unjustly imprisoned. You see the point? So if you take that backwards, is it okay to imprison innocent people in order to achieve a zero crime level? I mean, if you're not a criminal and you're an innocent person, would you gladly sit in prison in order for society to have what is understood as a zero crime level? It's the same thing with health. Same thing with health. It's like, is it okay to imprison and enslave all the healthy folks? Because the idea of having a zero sickness tolerance policy sounds good. I mean, who argues with things like that? Those are things that sound good, but go totally against foundational, historical principles of liberty. See my point? And when we've grown up into a communist system where we allow institutions, including corporations, institutions that we don't normally associate with bad characters, because, hey, look, when was the last time you went to a Black Friday sale? Isn't that wonderful? You get all these wonderful things for cheap prices, right? Why, they have your best interest at heart. Scan your palm, it's for your convenience. They have your best interest at heart, right? Because they want you to have convenience. Isn't that so wonderful? Wolf in sheep's clothing. Are we starting to get the point now? Are we starting to see how we voluntarily buy into? And the thing is that we don't see it because it's incremental. It's little bit at a time. Maybe 10 years pass and nothing major happens, maybe 15, maybe even 20. But then something happens and everybody has to lose a little bit of liberty just to make everybody safe. Isn't that something? And the thing is that that's already been done. Do they teach us these things in school? No, they don't. They didn't teach us that. Not in my high school. They don't teach you that communists of the Roman Empire used the same psychology on people to say that in order to achieve a zero tolerance against crime and get rid of tax evasion, everybody has to obey all of their laws, basically become enslaved. There was no liberty. And people such as Jesus Christ that taught love and peace, people like that were getting crucified, murdered, of course, together with also real criminals like thieves and robbers and murderers. That's it. That's the whole point. We have a culture where neighbor goes into another neighbor's property. You gotta have a fence around that pool. That was my point in the video. And that cannot be. We cannot have people going onto other people's properties telling them how to live their lives. I prefaced my video with taking personal responsibility. That's one of the first things I said in my video, was that I take personal responsibility. That's what it comes down to, folks, taking personal responsibility for our choices. So I never said it wasn't a good idea for people that want peace of mind if they want to have a fence around their pool. But because we are a culture that has been told that it's okay to be in debt, to have the things we want, and the whole picture has everything to do with the whole institutional foundation to which our house is built on. Instead of building our house on a rock, we built it on sand. And neighbor has a really nice house. One of them's built on sand. The other one's built on a rock. And people are just really hooked on their way of doing things. And I try to show people there are alternatives, there are options, there are other things that can be done. And yes, it takes know-how, and it takes a little more effort. But what you will achieve is you will achieve similar results that you wanted to achieve, and yet you will not be the one that looks at that saying, that ancient wisdom that says the borrower is a slave to the lender, and looks the other way and sweeps it under the rug and pretends it's not there. Give you some Whopper institutional examples. Right here in Mexico, there are cities that have huge bodies of water in the form of lakes. And yet the authorities are telling people that they don't have enough money to run the pumps to run the water to people's houses. In a neighboring city, the city is installing hundreds of solar lights in order to save money. So what do you make of that? What do you make of those things? Places where there's plenty of water, like here in Puerto Vallarta, it hasn't stopped raining. We've been here 3 months and it hasn't stopped raining. And yet the city is running out of water. What do you make of that? Do you really think that central authority and central institutions are all knowing? Do you think they're the Wizard of Oz? It's like we don't give it a second thought. It's like we just automatically assume that these institutions are going to do the right thing and are just going to provide the things that we need. But they're just people, they're just humans. And humans, first off, as you know, are not infallible. They are not immune to making mistakes, and they're not immune, unintentionally, and they're not immune to making intentional mistakes because they've been paid off. Look, it's about good and evil. You got good characters and bad characters. And yes, it looks like almost all of our institutions have been infiltrated. And I'm just trying to show people how it begins with the way we think. I wasn't advocating not doing something that gives you peace of mind. I'm saying that it's a personal choice, and nobody has the right to tell somebody else what they have to do and not have to do, especially if it's coming from institutions. Especially, we don't have the right to say, well, it's a law or it's institutions say this, you have to do this. That's the whole point. That's everything. It's all of it. It's all of it. We've just been doing this for way too long. We've been allowing institutions to dictate our lives. What we need to do is be people that take responsibility for our lives, and be people that aren't so busy paying off our debt and paying off a tax burden. That's right, because those are just contributions to Marxism. Different video. Free people aren't so busy every day paying off institutions, that's slavery, that they don't have any time to think about how they can be more responsible people in their lives. Because I mean, one of the first things I said was, I have peace of mind. I have peace of mind because I make my decisions based on taking personal responsibility. So I don't need, personally, somebody else to tell me how to have peace of mind if I didn't ask you. You know, if I was going around saying, I'm not sure about this, maybe this is not the right thing, what do you think? That's one thing. But as somebody that is in the retire early lifestyle, this is why my whole channel is retire early lifestyle, not because of the little carrot of retire early lifestyle, but because retire early lifestyle is a gift from God that gives us the ability to be the people that we were called to be. And that includes taking responsibility for our choices. And once we become a people that takes responsibility for our choices, then and only then will we just laugh at people that come over and tell us what to do. Does that make sense to you? Let me know in the comments. It's something to think about. It's some serious discussion. And so here in Mexico, if the current president, AMLO, is trying to persuade people to take, in so many words, this is what he's doing. He's trying to encourage them to take more responsibility for providing their own food. Are they listening? I hope they start listening soon. I think there's a lot of places in Mexico that do have a lot of food, but growing their own food, just, you know, it being a producer, because you go here, you go to the store, and you have zero control. And the prices are just skyrocketing here on the food. And so, you know, you don't only have wolves in sheep's clothing, you have both good and evil. And that's how you see through it. But it's challenging because sometimes evil appears as good. But when you look at it from the point of view that he wants people to be more self-sufficient in food. Well, see, that's good fruit. Being self-sufficient in food instead of being dependent on distribution systems, i.e. institutions, big chain corporations to deliver you food. That's the difference, folks. All right, leave me a comment below. Thanks for coming to my channel. Thanks for coming to my video. And have a wonderful day.